Most people think survival gear is about gadgets. It's not. It's about tools that keep working year after year, without power, without updates, without replacements. In this video, you'll see 50 survival gear items built for long-term use, simple, proven, and made to last when everything else fails. Number 1. Cast iron cookware. Cast iron earns its last forever reputation because it's basically one solid piece of metal with no coating to peel, no rivets to loosen, and no thin walls to warp. The real value for preparedness is that it works on almost any heat source: stove, campfire, coals, even a simple rocket stove. The biggest mistake people make is thinking cast iron is fragile. Because it can rust. Rust is not destruction, it's just neglect. The forever routine is simple. After cooking, rinse with hot water, scrub with a brush, skip soap if your seasoning is still weak, dry it completely, then wipe a paper-thin layer of oil and store it dry. If it ever rusts, you don't panic. You scrub it back to clean metal, dry it, and re-season with a thin coat of oil baked on. Another overlooked advantage is heat stability. Cast iron holds heat, so you're not constantly blasting fuel to keep a pan hot. In a long outage, that efficiency matters. For maximum lifespan, avoid shock situations like dropping a blazing hot pan into icy water, and don't store food in it for long periods. Do those few things, and it becomes a true heirloom tool. Number 2. Stainless steel single wall bottle. A single wall stainless bottle is a long-term win because it's simple. One metal shell, one lid, no fragile insulation vacuum, and no soft plastic that turns brittle in winter or gets funky over time. Stainless doesn't absorb flavors, doesn't crack from drops the way some plastics do, and it's easy to sanitize. The preparedness advantage that people forget is boiling. A true single-wall stainless bottle can be used as a tiny pot. Remove the lid, and any rubber parts, set it near coals or on a grate, and you can bring water to a boil for purification. That's a huge capability in a grid-down moment. To make it last even longer, keep the threads clean, don't cross-thread the lid, and replace small wear parts like a gasket if needed. Also, learn a basic cleaning reset. Hot water, plus a bit of baking soda, shake, rinse, and air dry. The simpler the bottle, the fewer failure points. And that's the core principle behind gear that lasts. Number 3. All metal canteen cup. A metal cup that nests under your bottle looks small, but it multiplies what you can do. Boil a small batch of water, make broth, melt snow, heat a wet bandana for cleaning, warm hands safely, or cook basic food without burning it directly. The durability comes from choosing an all-metal design with no plastic-coated handles that can melt near heat. Stainless is a solid choice. Titanium is lighter, but usually pricier. The real forever trick is habits. Don't treat it like a disposable camp cup. Keep it soot clean enough to store, rinse after salty foods, and avoid leaving it wet inside a sealed pouch where it can stink up your kit. This one item also helps you conserve fuel heating. A small cup is faster than heating a big pot. In a real emergency, speed and efficiency mean fewer mistakes, less exposure, and more control. Number 4. Ferro rod fire starter. A good ferro rod is long-lasting because it doesn't run out of fuel the way lighters do, and it doesn't become useless when wet like many matches. But the biggest benefit is reliability under stress, if you practice. People buy a ferro rod and never learn the technique, then blame the tool. The best approach is to build a simple, repeatable process. Gather tinder first, then kindling, then fuel, and only then throw sparks. Keep the rod thick enough to handle thousands of strikes, and pair it with a proper striker, or the spine of a knife designed for it. One practical tip that makes it feel easy. Anchor the striker, and pull the rod back instead of scraping the striker forward. This keeps your tinder pile from exploding apart. Also, carry tinder that works even when everything is damp. Waxed cotton, resin-rich wood shavings, or commercial fire tabs. A ferro rod becomes lifetime gear when it's treated as a skill tool, not a magic wand. Number 5. Flint and steel backup set. Flint and steel matters because it's a true low-tech option that can sit in storage for years and still work. The forever element is that it's essentially stone plus steel. No pressurized fuel, no plastic mechanism, no battery. But it does require a specific system. Sparks from flint and steel are smaller and cooler than a ferro rod, so you need tinder that catches easily, like char cloth. The simple method is, strike so sparks land on char cloth, let it glow, then fold it into a tinder bundle and gently breathe it into flame. What makes it valuable in preparedness is that it's a deep backup. If modern options are lost, damaged, or you're trying to conserve resources, you still have a way to create fire with minimal wear on your main tools. Store it dry to prevent rust, and practice occasionally so the technique doesn't feel foreign when you're cold and tired. Number 6. Full tang fixed blade knife. A knife that lasts isn't about looking tactical. It's about construction. Full tang means the steel continues through the handle, reducing the chance of snapping at the handle joint under hard use. For preparedness, a fixed blade is often more dependable than folders because there's no hinge to clog with grit and no lock to fail. The key choices are steel type and handle comfort. High carbon steels are easy to sharpen and tough, but they need a bit more rust prevention. Stainless is more forgiving for storage and wet climates. Either can be forever if you maintain it. Clean it after food use, dry it, and apply a light protective oil if it's carbon steel. The other forever tip is avoiding bad habits. Don't pry with the tip, don't baton through knots like you're splitting concrete, and don't throw it. Use it like a tool, not a stunt prop, and it becomes a lifetime companion. Number 7. Pocket stone or diamond sharpener. Forever gear fails fast if you can't maintain edges. A small sharpening stone or diamond plate turns your knife into a renewable resource. You're not dependent on buying replacements because the cutting ability can be restored. Diamond plates are fast and work well even with harder steels. Stones feel smoother and can last a long time if kept clean. The most practical, easy-to-remember approach is consistency over perfection. Keep your angle steady and do small touch-ups often instead of waiting until the blade is completely dull. A quick maintenance session after a tough job prevents big wear later. Another smart move is sharpening the tools you forget. Scissors, a hatchet edge, even a scraper. When you have one small sharpener in your kit, everything stays functional longer, which lowers risk and saves effort. Number 8. Leather stropping compound. Stropping is the easiest way to keep a blade feeling new without removing much metal. That's why it extends tool life. Sharpening removes steel. Stropping mostly realigns and polishes the edge. In practical terms, a strop turns a works but struggles knife into a smooth cutter again. For preparedness, it's also quiet, clean, and simple. Strop after you sharpen, then do quick maintenance strops after use. The best habit is to treat it like brushing your teeth. Small, regular maintenance beats emergency repairs. Store the strop dry, keep compound on one side, and use gentle pressure. When people ruin edges with strops, it's usually because they press too hard or roll the angle. Light pressure, consistent angle, and patience. Then it becomes a tiny tool that protects the lifespan of bigger tools. Number 9. High-quality multi-tool. A good multi-tool is a capability multiplier because it covers small repairs that otherwise turn into big problems. A loose screw on a pack, a bent wire, a cracked clamp, a broken zipper. Pull you need to improvise. The difference between a cheap multi-tool and a lasting one is tolerances and steel quality. Cheap ones wobble, bind, and strip fast. To make a good one last, keep it clean, open and close tools smoothly instead of forcing them, and add a drop of oil at pivot points when it feels gritty. A practical preparedness tip is to pair it with a small bit kit if your model allows it. Then you can handle more fasteners. But even without extras, a reliable multi-tool saves time, saves gear, and prevents small failures from snowballing when you're already stressed. Number 10. Manual can opener. This is the unsexy hero of food prep. If your plan includes canned food, a can opener is not optional, and the wrong one fails at the worst time. The forever version is simple, all metal, and easy to clean. The real preparedness value is not just opening cans, but doing it safely. A cheap opener can leave jagged edges that cut hands. In stressful situations, hand injuries are a big deal because they limit everything you do next. A quality opener also handles different can types without slipping. Keep it dry, wipe it clean after use, and store it where you can find it instantly. People often store openers in random kitchen drawers. In preparedness, you want one in the kitchen and one in your kit. Number 11. Pressure canner. A pressure canner is a long-term food security tool because it enables safe preservation of low-acid foods like meats, soups, and vegetables. Foods you can't safely water bath can. This is where useful forever meets valuable forever. The canner itself can last decades if it's built well and maintained. The key is using it correctly and respecting tested processing times and pressures so the food stays safe. Maintenance is straightforward. Keep it clean, keep the vent and gauge in good shape, and store it dry. The preparedness advantage is independence. If the freezer fails or power is unreliable, pressure canning turns fresh food into shelf-stable meals. It's also a skill that pays back. Once you know the process, you can preserve seasonal abundance instead of watching it spoil. Number 12. Mason jars and metal lids. Mason jars are one of the most practical multi-purpose forever items because they don't care about trends. They store dry goods, organize small parts, hold homemade sauces, work for fermenting, and help with pantry rotation because you can see what's inside. With care, the jars last years. The lids and bands are the wearable parts lids especially. So the smart preparedness move is to keep extras. Another overlooked benefit is pest resistance. Glass and metal beat thin bags when you're storing grains, beans, sugar, and salt. A simple habit that makes them last longer is avoiding chipped rims and rapid temperature shocks. Treat them carefully, and they become a durable storage system that keeps your supplies clean, dry, and easy to manage. Number 13. Cast aluminum or stainless stockpot. A large pot is a preparedness workhorse because it does big tasks that small cookware can't. Sterilizing lots of water, cooking large batches, rendering fat, making bone broth, washing cloth, and even heating water for basic hygiene. The Forever version has a thick bottom and sturdy handles that won't loosen under weight. Stainless is durable and easy to maintain. Thick cast aluminum can also last a long time and distributes heat well. What makes this valuable is efficiency. Bulk cooking saves fuel because you're heating once and eating multiple times. It also saves time, which matters when daily tasks pile up. Keep it clean. Don't store it with moisture trapped under the lid, and it remains a reliable tool year after year. Number 14. Stainless steel spoon. A one-piece metal spoon is almost funny on a list like this, but it's here because it never breaks in normal use and it keeps working in heat. In a kit, plastic utensils crack, snap, or melt when you actually need them. A metal spoon also has tiny bonus uses: stirring hot liquids, scraping cookware, portioning food, and even measuring by spoonful when you don't have proper measuring tools. It's also more hygienic over time because it doesn't soak up oils and smells. This is the kind of item that seems too basic until you've eaten with a broken plastic fork in cold weather and realized small frustrations add up fast. Number 15. Enamelware cup or mug. Enamelware is simple and durable enough for regular camp use, and it handles heat without the weird aftertaste some cheap metals can give. The key is understanding what it is. Enamel is a glass-like coating fused to metal. If you abuse it, hard drops on rocks, it can chip. But even chipped enamelware still works, and the metal body underneath keeps it usable. The preparedness advantage is comfort and routine. A reliable mug makes warm drinks possible, helps with morale, and supports hydration when conditions are rough. Keep it clean, avoid storing acidic liquids in it for long periods, and it becomes a long-term camp companion. Number 16. Wool blanket. Wool is one of the best survival materials because it insulates even when damp, and it resists sparks better than many synthetics. That matters when you're sleeping near a fire or working around stoves. A wool blanket also doesn't rely on zippers, valves, or inflatable chambers lest to fail. It can be a sleep layer, a wrap, a windbreak, a ground layer, or even a carry cloth in a pinch. To make it last, keep it clean, let it dry fully after damp use, and wash gently when needed. The long-term value is reliability. Wool doesn't need perfect conditions to keep you warm, and that's exactly what you want when conditions are not perfect. Number 17, wool socks. Wool socks are about performance and prevention. They manage moisture better than cotton, which reduces blister risk and helps regulate temperature. In survival terms, foot problems turn into mobility problems, and mobility is one of your top assets. The forever approach is buying fewer pairs of higher quality socks, rotating them, and letting them dry properly between uses. Don't destroy them with harsh heat drying. Air dry when possible. Keep a dedicated dry pair for sleeping. That one habit alone can improve rest and reduce cold-related discomfort. Small changes that protect your feet pay back every day. Number 18, full-grain leather belt. A quality leather belt is both clothing and gear. It supports tools on your waist, can lash items together, and can even be used for improvised repairs. Full-grain leather lasts longer than bonded leather or synthetic belts that crack and peel. Maintenance is easy. Wipe off dirt, keep it from staying soaked, and condition it occasionally. The long-term benefit is consistency. Your belt doesn't randomly fail at the worst time, and because it's strong and flexible, it becomes part of your everyday carry system, not just an accessory. Number 19, rebuildable leatherwork gloves. Gloves protect your hands from cuts, friction, splinters, and heat. In real preparedness, hand injuries are one of the fastest ways to lose capability, because everything depends on grip and dexterity. Rebuildable or heavy-duty leather gloves last longer than thin synthetics, and they can often be repaired enough to keep working even after damage. The longevity comes from buying thick leather, choosing solid stitching, and conditioning the leather so it doesn't dry and crack. Keep them dry, don't leave them soaked in a bag, and they stay comfortable and functional for a long time. Number 20, quality work boots with rebuildable soles. Boots are one of the most important buy once decisions because they determine how far you can walk, how safely you can work, and how your body feels after long days. Rebuildable boots that can be resold turn footwear into a long-term system instead of a disposable purchase. To maximize lifespan, keep them clean, dry them slowly, never against intense direct heat, and condition leather so it stays flexible and water-resistant. Replace laces before they snap and keep a spare set in your kit. The preparedness benefit is simple. Durable boots reduce injury risk, improve stability in bad terrain, and keep you moving when movement matters most. Number 21, military-grade Lensatic compass. A Lensatic compass is forever gear because it's a purely mechanical navigation tool. No batteries, no signal, no software updates, no fragile screen. What makes the military-style models different from cheap pocket compasses is durability and precision. Better housing, clearer markings, a stable needle, and parts that don't loosen after a few drops. The real value, though, is what it lets you do when everything digital is unreliable. With a compass, you can hold a bearing, backtrack, build a simple route plan, and keep moving in low visibility without wandering in circles. A practical skill that pays off fast is shooting an azimuth. Pick a landmark in your direction of travel, set your bearing, walk to that landmark, then repeat. It sounds basic, but it prevents the classic mistake of drifting off course while you're tired. Another overlooked advantage is land navigation discipline. A compass forces you to think in terrain features, ridges, valleys, rivers, and elevation changes. So you stop relying on blue dot confidence. To keep it lasting decades, don't store it near strong magnets, speakers, or electrical transformers, and keep it clean and dry. If it's a liquid-filled model, avoid extreme heat that can cause expansion and bubbles. Treat it like a tool, not a keychain decoration, and it'll outlast most modern devices. Number 22, paper topo maps and map case. Paper maps are last forever because they don't crash, they don't run out of charge, and they don't care about cell towers. A topo map also teaches something your phone doesn't: how the land actually works. The contour lines show steepness, ridge lines, drainages, and the easiest routes information that's still true even if roads wash out or signs disappear. That matters in emergencies, because the safest path is often not the fastest. A map case turns paper into an all-weather system. It keeps maps readable in rain and snow and prevents them from tearing when you're folding and unfolding constantly. The best habit is to pre-plan. Mark water sources, possible shelter points, and no-go terrain like cliffs or swampy lowlands. Even a simple highlight of major ridges and rivers helps when you're stressed. For long-term use, keep a clean copy stored flat and a field copy that you don't mind marking. A pencil works better than ink in wet weather. And if you want to level up without making it complicated, learn to identify handrails, rivers, roads, ridges, and catch features. A big river you can't cross, a highway, a ridgeline, so you always know when you've gone too far. That's the kind of skill that turns a paper map into real security. Number 23. Manual hand crank radio. A hand crank radio matters because information is survival. Weather shifts, evacuation notices, local hazards, and general situational awareness. The forever aspect isn't that electronics never fail. It's that the power source is under your control. You're not dependent on finding the right batteries, and you're not waiting for a power bank that may be dead. The smart strategy is to choose a simple, robust model and treat it like field gear. Store it dry, protect it from hard impacts, and test it on a schedule so you know it works. The biggest mistake is buying one and forgetting it in a drawer until the moment you need it. In actual use, keep expectations realistic. A hand crank is not a miracle generator. It's best for short listening windows and topping up small devices, not running things all day. A useful practice is information sprints. Crank, listen for 5 to 10 minutes to get key updates, then turn it off to conserve wear and effort. If your radio has a flashlight, think of it as an emergency light, not your primary lighting system. The radio earns its place because it gives you a dependable line to public broadcasts when everything else goes quiet. Number 24. Simple LED flashlight with standard batteries. The best, long-lasting flashlight is usually the boring one. Sturdy body, simple switch, and standard batteries you can find and store. Fancy rechargeable lights can be great, but sealed battery packs and proprietary charging systems are common failure points over the long run. Standard battery lights let you replace the power source instantly. The preparedness strategy is redundancy. One main light, one backup, and batteries stored properly, cool, dry, and in original packaging, or a battery case so terminals don't short. Another long-term trick is avoiding battery corrosion. If a light will sit unused for months, store it with the batteries removed or loosened. Corrosion destroys more lights than hard use does. Also, brightness isn't everything. A medium mode that runs for hours is more valuable than a turbo mode that drains fast. In a real outage, you want stable light that helps you cook, move safely, and manage tasks without constantly worrying about power. Keep it simple, keep it reliable, and it lasts. Number 25. Headlamp with a robust strap. A headlamp is one of the biggest capability upgrades because it frees both hands. That means safer cutting, easier repairs, better cooking, and fewer accidents. For longevity, the priorities are a solid housing, a simple interface you can operate with gloves, and a strap that won't stretch out or snap after a few uses. The forever approach is maintenance and storage. Keep it dry, clean off sweat and grit from the strap, and don't store it with batteries inside if it's going to sit for a long time. If you've ever opened a headlamp after months and found a corroded battery compartment, you know why this matters. A practical tip. Keep a headlamp in a consistent spot like with your keys or emergency kit, because in a blackout, the biggest enemy is fumbling around in darkness. Another tip that helps in real situations is using red light mode when you can. It preserves night vision and feels less harsh, so you're calmer and more efficient. Number 26. Folding solar panel. Without built-in battery. Solar is powerful for long-term emergencies, but forever gear solar means separating the panel from the battery. Panels can last a long time if cared for, while batteries are always the wear item. A panel without built-in storage reduces what can fail, and it lets you swap in whatever power bank or device makes sense later. For durability, avoid sharp creases. Don't leave it face down in dirt, And keep the connectors protected. Connectors are often the first weak point. Clean the surface gently. Dust and grime reduce output more than people expect. The most useful way to use a small folding panel is during daylight charging windows. Set it up in good sun, charge a power bank or radio, then pack it away. Don't expect miracles in shade, or heavy overcast solar is predictable, but only if you respect conditions. Over the long run, this setup is one of the few ways to produce usable electricity without fuel, which makes it a quiet, steady advantage instead of a flashy gadget. Number 27. Metal lantern or candle lantern. A candle lantern sounds old-fashioned, but it's practical because it provides steady light with almost no complexity. The metal housing protects the flame from wind, and the enclosure reduces the fire risk compared to an exposed candle, especially in tight shelters, or when you're moving around. Another benefit people forget is heat. It's not a heater, but in a small enclosed space, it can take the edge off cold air and reduce condensation slightly. The forever part is the hardware. Metal lantern body, glass, and simple latch mechanisms can last a very long time with basic care. The consumable is the candle, which is easy to store. The safety rule is simple: stable surface, good ventilation, never leave it unattended. Used correctly, a candle lantern is a low-tech backup that doesn't depend on batteries and still feels comfortable during extended outages. Number 28. Quality axe with replaceable handle. An axe becomes generational gear when you treat the head as the forever part and the handle as the replaceable part. A solid steel head can last for decades or longer with basic rust protection and sharpening. The reason axes fail early is usually misuse. Striking dirt and rocks, chopping against knots like you're trying to break concrete, or using the axe as a hammer and bending the edge. Technique matters. A sharp axe is safer than a dull one because it bites cleanly and doesn't glance off. Store it dry, oil the head lightly, and cover the edge. For the handle, keep it from living in soaking wet conditions where wood swells and cracks. If it loosens, don't ignore it, reseat or replace it. When you maintain an axe properly, you're not just keeping a tool, you're keeping a real ability. Processing wood efficiently for shelter, cooking, and warmth without burning through fuel or exhausting yourself. Number 29. Bow saw frame with spare blades. A bow saw is one of the most efficient hand tools for cutting wood because it cuts faster than most small folding saws and saves your knife edge for precision tasks. The forever logic is smart. The frame is the long-term tool. The blade is the consumable. Keep a handful of spare blades stored dry, and you've bought yourself years of cutting capability. The biggest advantage in preparedness is energy efficiency. Cutting wood with the right saw uses less effort, and less effort means you stay warmer and make fewer mistakes. Another benefit is safety. Saws reduce the temptation to baton thick pieces with a knife, which can lead to blade damage and hand injuries. For longevity, don't store the saw wet, wipe it after use, and keep the spare blades in a sleeve or cardboard so teeth don't get damaged in storage. Simple habits make it a tool you can depend on every season. Number 30. Folding saw for pack use. A folding saw is the pack-friendly version of serious wood processing. It's faster and cleaner than hacking branches with a knife, and it's usually safer than swinging a small axe in tight spaces. The Forever model has a solid lock, sturdy handle, and ideally replaceable blades. Replaceable blades matter because it turns the saw into a system. The handle and hinge last, and the teeth stay sharp because you can swap blades instead of forcing a dull cutter. A practical field habit is cutting green wood and dry wood differently. Green wood can gum up teeth, and some saws handle it better than others. Wipe the blade, keep it lightly oiled if you're storing it long term, and avoid twisting the blade in the cut. Used with good technique, a folding saw can serve for years and become the tool you reach for whenever you need controlled, efficient cuts. Number 31. Manual drill or brace and bit. A hand drill or brace and bit set is one of those tools that quietly proves its value over time. When power tools fail, because there's no electricity, dead batteries, or burned out motors, a manual drill keeps working. It allows you to bore clean holes for shelter construction, furniture repairs, trap making, tool handles, and basic carpentry. The real advantage is control. You can drill slowly, feel the wood, and avoid splitting material. A brace with quality bits can handle thick beams just as well as small, precise holes. To make it last for decades, keep the moving parts lightly oiled, store bits dry, and organize them so edges don't bang together. Rust is the enemy, not use. With basic care, this tool doesn't wear out. It simply keeps doing its job generation after generation. Number 32. Quality hammer and pry bar. A solid hammer and pry bar are foundational tools for survival because they turn raw effort into controlled force. A hammer lets you drive nails, set stakes, shape metal, and break down materials safely. A pry bar protects your hands and back when lifting, opening crates, pulling nails, or dismantling structures for salvage. In emergency situations, salvage is often faster and safer than building from scratch. Cheap tools bend, chip, or snap under stress, while solid steel tools absorb abuse and keep working. The long-term advantage is injury prevention. Using the right tool reduces smashed fingers, strained backs, and uncontrolled movements. Keep them clean, wipe off moisture, and they'll last a lifetime with almost no maintenance. Number 33. Metal file set. Files don't look exciting, but they are one of the most powerful maintenance tools you can own. A file restores damaged edges, removes burrs from metal, shapes wood, smooths rough tool handles, and fixes problems before they become failures. In survival terms, files extend the life of everything else you own. A chipped axe edge, a mushroomed hammer face, or a bent metal bracket can all be corrected with a file. The key to longevity is storage. Keep files dry and store them so the teeth don't rub against other metal tools. Never throw files loose into a toolbox. Clean them occasionally with a wire brush. Used properly, a good file doesn't wear out quickly. It becomes a long-term repair solution that keeps your core tools working. Number 34. Sewing kit with heavy needles. Clothing and gear almost always fail at seams, not fabric. A sewing kit with heavy needles, strong thread, and a simple thimble gives you the power to fix backpacks, jackets, tarps, gloves, and straps. This turns damage into downtime instead of permanent loss. The survival advantage is massive because replacement gear may not be available. A single needle weighs almost nothing but can save expensive equipment. For long-term use, store needles in a small tube or magnetized case so they don't rust or get lost. Practice basic stitches like backstitch and whip stitch so repairs hold under tension. This kit is one of the highest value-to-weight items in preparedness because it keeps everything else in service. Number 35. Waxed thread and speedy stitcher style awl. When repairs involve thick leather, canvas, webbing, or heavy packs, standard needles often aren't enough. A stitching awl with waxed thread creates strong, load-bearing stitches that don't pull apart under stress. This is how you fix boots, belts, pack straps, and holsters in a way that actually lasts. The waxed thread resists moisture and abrasion, and the awl punches clean holes instead of tearing fibers. The result is a repair that often outlasts the original stitching. Keep the awl clean, store spare thread dry, and it becomes a permanent solution rather than a temporary fix. In long-term survival, strong repairs matter more than fast repairs. Number 36. Metal buckles and repair rivets. One cracked plastic buckle can make an entire pack or strap useless. Cold weather, UV exposure, and repeated stress all destroy plastic over time. Metal buckles, repair clips, and rivets solve this problem permanently. They let you replace failure points instead of discarding gear. This is a classic preparedness principle. Fix the weak link, don't replace the whole system. Keep a small selection of sizes so you're ready for different straps. Practice installing them once so you're not learning under pressure. Stored dry, these parts last indefinitely and quietly prevent major gear failures when you least want them. Number 37. Paracord and bank line. Cordage is consumed faster than people expect because it solves so many problems. Shelter building, gear repair, hanging food, securing loads, replacing broken straps, and improvising tools. Paracord is flexible and strong, while tarred bankline grips knots better and handles abrasion well. The forever aspect isn't that cord never wears out, it's that stored properly, it stays ready for years. Keep it clean, dry, and out of direct sunlight. Coil it neatly so it doesn't tangle or kink. In survival situations, cordage often becomes the difference between stable shelter and constant frustration. Having plenty and knowing basic knots gives you control over your environment. Number 38. Static rope for hauling and shelter. Static rope is designed to hold weight without stretching, which makes it ideal for hauling, anchoring, and shelter construction. It's not about climbing, it's about controlled strength. With proper rope, you can move heavy objects safely, secure loads, tension tarps, and create stable structures. The key to long life is storage. Keep rope away from UV light, fuel, chemicals, and sharp edges. Inspect it occasionally for fraying or damage. When treated correctly, a good rope lasts many years and becomes a central piece of your load handling and shelter system. This reduces injury risk and saves energy, which is critical in long-term scenarios. Number 39. Canvas tarp. Canvas tarps earn their place because they're tough, quiet in the wind, resistant to sparks, and repairable. They don't flap loudly like thin synthetics, which matters for comfort and concealment. Canvas works as a shelter, ground cloth, gear cover, rain catcher, or windbreak. The trade-off is weight, but the payoff is durability. Small tiers can be stitched or patched, extending life significantly. To keep canvas lasting, never store it wet. Let it dry fully after use, and retreat it occasionally for water resistance. With proper care, a canvas tarp can serve for decades and adapt to many roles without falling apart. Number 40. Heavy-duty ripstop tarp. A ripstop tarp is the lightweight counterpart to canvas. Reinforced fibers prevent small tears from spreading, which dramatically increases usable life. High-quality stitching and strong tie-out points matter more than brand names. The long-term advantage is versatility. It packs small, deploys fast, and works for shelters, rain covers, and emergency repairs. To extend lifespan, avoid leaving it in direct sun when not needed. Don't pack it wet, and patch damage early before it grows. When treated as a reusable tool instead of a disposable sheet, a ripstop tarp can last years and remain one of the most flexible pieces of survival gear you own. Number 41. Metal stakes and a mallet. Shelters usually don't fail because the tarp rips or the poles break, they fail at the anchor points. Cheap plastic stakes snap, bend once and stay bent, or pull out when the ground is hard or saturated. Metal stakes solve this problem because they can take abuse. If one bends, you straighten it and keep using it. Paired with a small mallet, or even a carefully chosen rock, you get consistent, deep placement that actually holds tension. The real preparedness value is stability. A stable shelter means better sleep, less gear damage, and less stress during bad weather. Another overlooked benefit is versatility. Metal stakes can be used as digging tools in hard ground, emergency pegs for repairs, or even improvised tent pegs when you need to reinforce a windward side. To keep them lasting, wipe off mud before storage, and don't leave them driven in place for months where corrosion accelerates. Simple habits make them last for years. Number 42. Fireproof gloves, or heat-resistant mitt. Burns are one of the fastest ways to lose capability in a survival situation. You don't need dramatic injuries. One bad burn on your palm, and suddenly everything becomes harder. A heat-resistant glove or mitt solves this quietly. It lets you move hot pots, adjust coals, handle stove doors, and manage firewood safely. The key is durability. Thick leather or fire-resistant fabric with strong stitching lasts far longer than thin BBQ-style gloves that tear quickly. This isn't glamorous gear, but it's high-impact gear. Long-term value comes from preventing accidents, not reacting to them. Keep the glove dry, don't store it soaked with grease or moisture, and it stays flexible and reliable. In real-world use, this single item often separates calm, controlled fire management from rushed, risky behavior. Number 43. Stainless steel grate or grill. Cooking over open fire becomes far safer and more efficient with a stable grate. Without one, people balance pots on rocks, shift pans constantly, and waste fuel trying to control heat. A stainless steel grate creates a predictable cooking surface. Stainless matters because it resists rust, handles repeated heating cycles, and doesn't flake coatings into food. Over time, the grate darkens and seasons slightly, but it doesn't fail. The preparedness advantage is control. Controlled cooking means fewer spills, less wasted food, and less risk of burns. Another benefit is flexibility. You can cook multiple items at once, dry wet gear nearby, or heat water steadily without babysitting the pot. To extend lifespan, clean off heavy residue, store it dry, and avoid warping it by dropping it directly onto uneven rocks while red hot. Number 44, water filter with replaceable elements. No filter truly lasts forever, but systems with replaceable elements and durable housings are as close as it gets. The key is understanding that filter lifespan is heavily influenced by user behavior. Pre-filtering cloudy water through cloth, letting sediment settle, and avoiding silty sources when possible can multiply cartridge life. That's real value. Durable housings survive drops, freezing conditions, and rough handling better than cheap plastic squeeze filters. The long-term strategy is simple. Treat the filter as part of a system, not a magic straw. Store spare elements dry, protect the filter from freezing when wet, and clean it according to instructions. Done right, one solid filter system can support you through many seasons instead of failing after one bad trip. Number 45, metal water container for bulk. Small bottles are great for movement, but bulk water storage is what gives you stability. A larger stainless container, or a purpose-built durable water jug, allows you to stay put longer, cook without stress, and maintain hygiene. Water weighs a lot, so every unnecessary trip to refill costs energy and time. The forever advantage here is independence. Metal containers resist cracking, UV damage, and long-term degradation that plastic suffers from. Even if they dent, they usually keep working. To make them last, keep the interior clean. Don't store contaminated water long-term, and dry them between uses if possible. In preparedness, bulk water capacity often determines how flexible your decisions can be. Number 46, hand pump sprayer. A hand pump sprayer is one of those tools that seems mundane until you rely on it daily. It allows controlled water use for cleaning, disinfecting, gardening, cooling hot surfaces, and even applying homemade solutions. The forever value comes from mechanical simplicity. No electronics, no complicated valves, just seals, pressure, and a trigger. If a seal wears out, it can often be replaced cheaply. The preparedness advantage is efficiency. Instead of dumping water wastefully, you apply exactly what's needed. This becomes critical when water is scarce. Store it empty and dry. Keep seals lightly lubricated if recommended, and it remains functional for years. Number 47, manual grain mill. A hand crank grain mill is one of the clearest examples of a long-term capability shift. Stored grains are only potential food until you can process them. A durable mill turns wheat, corn, rice, and other grains into usable flour or meal without electricity. The durability comes from simple mechanics, gears, burrs, and a crank that don't depend on fragile electronics. Maintenance is basic. Clean it after use, keep it dry, and lubricate moving parts lightly. The real value is independence. When supply chains fail or packaged foods run out, the ability to process stored grains keeps calories flowing. Over time, this tool pays for itself many times over in flexibility and food security. Number 48, cast iron or steel Dutch oven trivet. A trivet looks insignificant, but it solves a real problem: unstable cooking over coals. By lifting the pot slightly and keeping it level, a trivet prevents scorching, improves airflow, and makes heat control easier. This reduces fuel waste and food loss. Made from cast iron or steel, a trivet is nearly indestructible. It doesn't wear out with normal use and can handle extreme heat repeatedly. The preparedness value is efficiency-better cooking with fewer mistakes. Store it dry, brush off ash, and it's ready forever. Number 49, metal ammo can or watertight storage box. Durable storage is preparedness insurance. Metal ammo cans and watertight boxes protect critical items from moisture, pests, and impact. Matches, documents, medical supplies, batteries, repair parts. These are things that fail when exposed to humidity or rodents. A good container turns fragile supplies into long-term assets. The key to maximizing value is organization. Label contents, separate items into smaller bags inside, and add moisture absorbers. Check seals occasionally, and replace them if needed. Treated this way, a single container can protect supplies for many years and survive moves, floods, and rough handling. Number 50, Field Repair Kit in a metal tin. Forever gear doesn't mean nothing ever breaks. It means you're ready when it does. A compact repair kit turns problems into pauses instead of disasters. Screws, safety pins, needles, thread, tape, zip ties, glue, patches. Each item solves a different failure mode. The metal tin matters because it protects contents from crushing, moisture, and heat. The preparedness value is speed. When something breaks, you fix it immediately instead of improvising poorly or abandoning gear. Keep this kit with your main equipment, not buried in storage. Update it occasionally, replace used items, and it becomes one of the most powerful tools you own. Not because it's flashy, but because it keeps everything else working.